There we are. We're live. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
It's good to see y'all and visit with us today. Uh, I called Dr. Gail. We were talking about this. I told her I'm going to do this show called Words, Words, Words. And what it is I just talked to Chat GPT and I said, what kind of words mean psychics and clairvoyance and stuff? And so I found two of them. This is from the thesaurus, and this is from ChatGPT. And they all mean the same thing. They all mean that we're intuitive workers and we work with the energy of the world around us. And the reason I was thinking about it was I was listening to a channeler who was teaching a course on how to do channeling. And he said, but the truth is you channel all the time. If you do artwork, you'll have channeled something in that makes artwork. If and I'll write something, I go, where the hell did that come from? Well, I channeled it in. Some people channel very formally like he does and talk to the aliens that speak with him, but other people do it differently. And we're going to go through Dr. Gail's complete journey where so buckle your seatbelts, guys.
Yeah. Well, reason why is I told Nancy, I said, I think I need to be on that show with you and let everybody know about my journey, because I came from the medical world where I was a nurse. I fit in this box. I was a nurse. Then I became a chiropractor. I fit in this box as a chiropractor. When I hit the metaphysical world, I had no idea where I fit in. I didn't understand the terminology. Originally I started seeing people. I knew people around all my life, but I started actually seeing them, and my dad was the first one I saw. And of course, I was labeled a medium.
Now you must let them know your dad was passed by.
Oh yeah, my dad had passed, and then so I was labeled a medium, and then I couldn't figure out, well, what is a psychic medium? And I started researching what's a psychic medium, and I'm going, okay, I'm not sure about that, if I'm psychic, if I'm medium. But then, of course, it moved on. My journey moved on from there, and I started seeing ETs, our galactic friends. I started seeing them, and I'm thinking, well, where does that fit in? Is that a medium? I started meeting them, one after another. And of course, the terminology I was told then is I was an ET experiencer. I didn't know what an ET experiencer was at that time, but that's what I was labeled. So now I'm a medium, an ET experiencer. And then the next thing was I started working on a spaceship, and I started working with people who had negative entities. I was working on their chakras. I was working on all sorts of different things. And I didn't know where to put that. I'm working with the ETs. How do you explain that? Of course, I'm going towards more what I was comfortable with, the medical field. And so then it was time for me to move out to Mount Shasta. And at that time, as soon as I got there, I started seeing people's x-rays without seeing people's x-rays. There are x-rays like I had been in a clinic that I was seeing people's x-rays, but I was seeing them through my third eye. I couldn't understand that. And then, of course, I talked to my friend Meg, who was helping me on this journey, and she goes, "Oh, that's a medical intuitive." I'm going, a medical intuitive? I didn't even know what that was. What's a medical intuitive? And I'm going, do I need to go to school? Do I need to do that? Anyway, there is another label, medical intuitive. And so then the next was my journey kept going on, and I was told I was a seer, which I thought seers were people who saw the future. That was unclear to me. What do I call myself at that time? And then the next came the elementals when I was in Mount Shasta. And I'm going, well, what do you call it when you're talking to elementals? I don't know what you call yourself then when you're dealing with them. And of course, here recently, or in the last few months, I started channeling a being known as Bizarre. And so then I had to look up channeling. Am I a channeler? And look at the different kinds of channeling. I didn't want anybody to jump in my body, so I had to look up the different types of channelers. So I have had this journey of not being able to fit in this nice box like a nurse or a chiropractor, and trying to figure out the metaphysical world. And I figured finally, to me, it seems like that we're all mediums and we're all channelers. No matter what you're experiencing, it looks like that to me. Well, well, covers everybody. But again, I was lucky that my guys told me in the beginning to call myself a starseed healer before any of this stuff started happening. So it has covered everything for me to call myself that. But then again, how you define that as a channeler or an intuitive or a medium. So I know a lot of people are probably struggling too. The reason I'm saying this is because I think a lot of us are struggling what to call ourselves and what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing. And Nancy Jean, and the reason I told her mine is so fresh, mine's only been going on for 4 years now. Nancy Jean's been going on since she was a child. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm so, so it's new to me that I was able to share this information with everybody because I know there's a lot of people in the same situation trying to figure out what to call themselves.
It's not just what you call yourselves. It's, well, I do this or that. And when you start to put yourself in a box with words, you lose the ability to see all the different ways you could do it. When I first had my show on, I did a whole show on which Claire are you?
Yeah.
And I mean, you know,
Well, that's a whole nother different story, the Claires.
oh yeah, I mean, and all that is how the information hits you.
Yeah.
Then the telepathy is the ability to read and communicate without using verbal words, without speaking. Precognition is the ability to foresee events before they happen. And psychokinesis or telekinesis is where you can move objects with your mind, which is something I don't think I've ever done. So little damn little fairies come and move my crap around, but I don't do it.
I experience the same thing. It's either my dad and my uncle or the elementals that'll come and do things.
Yeah,
Like I'm,
that's how they get your attention.
yeah, because I'm a person that has everything in the place that they normally are supposed to be. So when something's moved, I really notice it.
You know, and clairvoyance is the ability to see events that are beyond our normal sight. But then clairsentience, and that's more what I think I am. I feel the whole elements. I feel all the things that are going around, and I think clairsentience is a very good overall world. Clairaudience is the ability to hear sounds and things that you need to know about. Mediumship is the ability to communicate with spirits. Now, there used to be in the old psychic fair days of the 1970s, there were just sweet little old ladies like me, and I wasn't that much of a little old lady. I was in my 30s and 40s then. But we would lay down the cards and see with the cards, use the symbols in the cards. But if someone came in and they were looking for a real medium, they were looking for somebody who's going to go talk to their dead relatives.
Mhm.
No offense, it's not my favorite thing. And a matter of fact, it's because when I was young and didn't know very much, I ran into a ghost. And when I went and got checked out at a psychological institute, parapsychological institute in Chicago, they said, "Man, you can do anything." And I said, "But this is what I don't want to do." And I
Mhm.
kind of gave them a list and then said, "Just don't let it in." So you do have control over that. Mediumship is one of those things. Intuition encompasses it all because it's the ability to understand and know something without having all the little lines go from A to B to C to D. You just kind of have a web. And the way I used to see my ability to read cards, when people say, "How do you do that?" When I'm reading the cards, and I had to sit down later and said, "How did I go through that?" But where I see myself is I'm like in the middle of a bubble. And there's up, down, sideways, and behind, just all around me, all kinds of information. And I can just pull from it. So when I started reading about quantum physics and how we make our own reality, I went, "That's what I do." Okay.
I'll go back to that intuitive because I experienced this 2 days ago. And there's somebody who is not in the metaphysical world looked at me and said, "You are very intuitive, aren't you?" So I
Mhm.
think that was a term that somebody who's not in this world is comfortable with,
Right.
and they just
And,
realized that.
and empathy is the ability to sense and feel the emotions of others. And it's not that I'm not empathetic, but I do put up a big giant mirror around me every day so I can just get through my everyday to day stuff. And I don't mean to cut people off, but I am empathetic, but I just can't. I won't let it go to the point that it hurts me. And that's where I think some people make a mistake. Aura readings, I understand what auras are, and if somebody's got a hell of an aura, I can see it. But it's not a skill I have, and I think for some people that is a skill. They see more of the light around people. Remote viewing, I learned to do when I was young. I tell you what, if you want to piss somebody off, go remote view them and then have you be right and they're wrong because something changed at their home. And it's a real fast way to lose friends. Um, Psychometry is the ability to hold stuff. And I also didn't think I was really good at psychometry, but when I went to Brian Weiss's Sunday thing about, investigating your powers, he had us do psychometry with the person next to us, and we swapped items. And I really could see and feel a lot of stuff all over it. But I don't have to go to the problem of swapping a ring or a watch or whatever. And then um, and then divination is the old-fashioned word for it. It means seeking information from unknown means. Astral projection is the ability to separate spirit from the body and travel on the astral plane. Dr. Gail's an ace at that. Channeling is the ability to receive and transmit messages from non-physical energies or consciousness. But they say they're not physical, but I think they feel when you're talking with them and you're channeling it through, they're every bit as real as if someone was in the room with you. So I don't think that's a really great explanation. And then there's the good old-fashioned, there's some old-fashioned words I want to talk about. One is scrying. And scrying is the practice at looking into a suitable medium to see what's going to happen. People used to scry with mirrors. People scry with black rocks, obsidian.
What do you mean by scrub?
Scry. It's
Scry.
SCRYING. You actually focus on that place and you'll see images. It's like a little movie screen.
Okay.
And when Queen Elizabeth I was the Queen of England, her chief chancellor was an astrologer and a psychic, and he was scry. He had a mirror that was on his desk that he would look to see about making changes. Now, all these terms change and tumble and go through the world. This is a book someone found and sent to me, and I really love it.
Mhm.
It was published in 1911, and it says hypnotism, mesmerism, and psychology, along with clairvoyance. That's how come Carl Jung was so in with our stuff, because they were all classed with us. Psychologists were classed with us because nobody could figure out why psychology worked. But, and sometimes the terms we use describe what you use. Like Dorothy Morgan and Andre Carr are both astrologers because they studied the stars. But if you really get in a long conversation with them, they're feeling information off the vibrations that they're studying, just like we do. Just like I'm a tarot reader, I read it off the cards. Soothsayer, you want to say the sooth,
Yeah.
But where my words really came from was I was listening to a guy talking about he was going to be teaching a channeling class, and he wanted people to understand that we all really channel all the time. Now, whether you have to be formally guided through it to learn how to do it, or it just sort of shows up one day like it did for him while he was riding in a subway car, that must be. I mean, subway cars are weird enough anyway. But there are all different methods. There are all different ways of looking at stuff. And the thing is, if you get into that, there are some people who have the mindset that channeling and mediums are above people who just read cards. Nothing makes me angrier than people who tell me I just read cards. They don't think about the fact that I had learned all 78 of them so I could just read those cards. But there's not a just, and there's not a difference, and there's not a this one's up here and this one's down here. And the thing is that you should limit your talents to just what you can limit your talents and say, I'm comfortable with this and I don't want to do anything else.
So what would you recommend for somebody who's new into this world
Mm-hmm.
and they're all of a sudden developing their abilities? What would you say they want to start a YouTube channel, and you have to put down a description, so you have to put yourself in a box. So what would you recommend for somebody like that who is all of a sudden, they know they're a medium, but of course they're channeling, and then they're intuitive, but what would you recommend for somebody like that?
What my definition says, I'm a tarot reader. I use cards, I use stones, I use crystals, I use all the things I touch in the universe to stay on a level, and levels of communicating through the energies. But the more, it's like, there's not a word in any of this that says somebody who works with the elementals. Both Dr. Gail and I work with the elementals.
Yeah.
There's no word.
What's the word for that?
Crazy.
That's crazy. Let's create our own word, the elementalist or whatever.
Well, we could, because nobody else has done it. Trust me, and I've looked.
Yeah. Well, also putting the elementals in categories also, I have struggled with that because the elementals I have worked with, I've tried to put them in boxes, especially the elementals that showed up writing fruits and vegetables. I couldn't figure out what kind of category to put them in.
They were loud little elves.
Well, actually, those weren't as loud as the first ones. The first one were I put in the category as gnomes, but they stayed in trees, so I'm not exactly sure. Were they gnomes? They kind of looked like gnomes. They were the ones that were so noisy that came introduce themselves as, we're the elementals. But again, we're trying to put them in categories, and I didn't feel like, because those gnomes that were in the trees, they could have been tree people, for all I know, tree elementals.
They're tree spirits.
Yeah, tree spirits. Okay, that could be tree spirits. And also the ones riding fruits and vegetables. What in the world? I mean, because they're in the air, do I call them sprites, or so that's been difficult also.
Yeah, well, I told you it's a Netflix show, and it's about two young men who died at different times, but they stayed earthbound so they could be detectives. And they, anyway, it's probably one of the best fictional sort of things where people put a story together, but they played up because they deal with ocean spirits, they deal with landlocked spirits. And one of my favorite is the sprites. People think sprites and fairies are these lovely little beings, and they were terrifying beings at times. It was believed that the fairies took children away, and that they took people away. They divert the course of your path so you go into their world and you'd never be seen again. In Ireland, there's all kinds of things if they went off with the fairies, So yeah, I think when it comes to the sprites, and I've read lots and lots of books on them, and all over Europe, and they'll because I am locked into one language, English. I have to use sprites and fairies, but anything that's a spirit, anything can be uh, a spirit that's on the earth, because that's where they came from, and that's where they're coming out into. For those of you who don't know about it, I'm going to put Cecil, my dragon, up. That's my dragon, and when he comes to see me, he says, we're going for a trip, and I'm going to go see all those lovely people. And the way I found this portrait of Cecil was I had told Dr. Gail about being carried off to the elementals and being told I was going to work with them, like it or not. And I told her a dragon would give me a ride. And she said, oh, a dragon. And she said, let me show you something. And it was this portrait. And a friend of Dr. Gail's had sent her this portrait before Cecil kidnapped me. And then she sent me Cecil's portrait, and I said, that's Cecil. How'd you get a picture of him? And those are synchronicities, guys. Those are the things you're supposed to pay attention to.
And you got the portal also from her.
I have a portal too. I didn't pull a portal over for today.
Right.
But, and when you talk about what's Hogarth? Hogarth is a tree that is on a ley line. And the reason you know he's on a ley line is because he has all those lumps and bumps. And that's because a ley line has so much more energy than normal earth. And that extra energy grows up into the tree and it shows. And that's how you can spot a ley line tree. And this one grows right near this driveway goes to my house.
Well, I laughed when I moved back to South Carolina because I sent you a picture of a tree right in my front yard
Mm-hmm.
that looks a lot like that. And I'm going, all this time I never knew that I was.
That I had, and a lot of people don't. But I can talk to Hogarth. But you know, I've asked Hogarth, and he said, "I'm just a spirit that's here." So it's just like us having sort of a spirit or a soul. Yeah, and Hogarth is beautiful. And Hogarth and I had a discussion one day when it was really wet and rainy, and I wanted to ask him a question, but I didn't want to go out there. And Hogarth and I can communicate at a distance, so that makes it much easier.
Oh yeah.
And let's see. So when it comes to the elementals, I don't know, what do they call a person that works with the elementals?
Yeah. What do you call? I mean, we might as well make up a term for it because I've never seen it. Is anybody in the chat? Can y'all Google it? People that work for elementals.
Mm-hmm.
What are they called? Well, I'm going to look it up myself. People who work with elementals, what would you call them?
Oh, Carl, my dragon. Cecil does not, he is not mean. He is the sweetest creature, and he's really soft.
Yeah. He's sweet. Does anybody know what people who work with elementals called? Well, they just give me a list of them.
They're probably the same words. You know, are you intuitive?
No, I mean, I'm just getting, let's see. If
Somebody suggested they're called witches. Now, that's not really nice, Dr. Gail.
Well, well, I don't know. Are they called witches? Because witches work with
nature spirits. That'd be the same thing.
It would be. And I almost, well, of course, I get kind of confused on what, but another definition between shamans and witches, and another issue, trying to figure that out. But, so
somebody says all of witches she knows work with the elements.
Okay, so
it's not meant in a negative way. I had a sister-in-law. I'm sure she's dead now, but she lived in a small village in York, and we visited her when I went with my husband to visit his family. And Irene lived in a little weaver's cottage that looked like someone had taken a ball of clay and thrown it up on the side of the hill. And it was a house. It was a house they lived in. It had been there since before the American Revolution. It was an old place. And her family had lived in this house forever. And she took me up in the woods because she's the wise old woman. And when I got there, I had a throat infection, and she said, "Come with me up in the woods." And we went around, and she had a little basket, just like you see, and she was pulling things out of the ground, you know, the sort of stuff they tell you not to do because you'll poison yourself. And she said, so that night before I went to bed, she gave me like it looked like a pharmacy bottle, and she said, "Drink half of this before you go to sleep, and drink the other half when you wake up, and you'll be better by noon." And I'd had these kind of throat chest things before, and I was like, I'll try anything. I don't know what's up in those trees, but she sure knows how to work it. She used to have more people visit that cottage looking for meds, and none of them were rolled up and smoked, guys. They were.
Well, my guides are saying they want to be called natives.
Natives, okay.
Which makes sense, but I'm going, isn't that the Native Americans? And they're going, no, we're the natives. So that's what they're wanting to be called. Or like, what weird, I guess I would be called. Well, that didn't give us the answer on what we're supposed to call ourselves that work with them. But they want to be called natives in general, the elementals.
Yes. Well, they are. They created the trees and the hills and the other stuff, and the dragons are supposed to be breaking loose and according to the Chinese proverbs, they're supposed to fly off the wall this year, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason we can't see them easily is because their vibration is so much higher than ours. And as we became vibrationally tied to the Industrial Revolution and getting away from living on the land and living with the natural things around us, um, we lost touch with them because they couldn't stand how low our vibration had become. Greed and fear and kind of interdependence with people that was not healthy, and so we lost our. That's the elementals. Um, the ETs and stuff. They've always been coming and going.
And they're coming and going in here.
And here, and here,
Yeah.
in ways we can actually see them.
Sometimes, yeah.
Hypnicity. This is Hypnicity's question. Are we actually inhabiting their earth? No, it's our earth. They relate to us. That's why a lot of the stuff the elementals do, the pettiness and the getting angry and that sort of stuff, they still relate to that energy that's in us. It's also in them.
So,
When they're in good moods, it's not.
well, I was thinking they were. I thought we were inhabiting their earth. We're not. It's our earth.
Well, there's a soul urge there's a soul urge for parts of humanity that it's our earth too.
Okay. We're cohabitating.
Right. And she wants to know,
But aren't they older than we are?
they don't die. They don't die the way we do. Well, they can cease to be and change into another form, but and they live where the ones that were left that didn't get kind of give it up when we went into our current state of mental health. They're in a very special place in the earth. That's where Cecil takes me to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fairies help my garden grow. Yeah, go out and talk to them.
Well, we just fairies, or does she bring in all the elementals?
You can bring in all the elementals, but if trust me, they're not so picky that if you call an elf a fairy, he's going to lose it.
No, because we've been calling them all sorts of things.
Oh, yes. And when they steal my cards and move the stuff in my office, they get called all sorts of things.
And then different countries call them something different too.
Yeah, and there's countries where the word fairy comes from a Greek word that we adopted and part of that Indo-European language come across. Okay, how can I activate my dragon? I don't know, Carl, because Cecil just showed up. Is it time to do that? What do I do with it? Will it help me follow my energies? They won't fight for you. They'll try to put you in a higher level of consciousness so you don't feel like you have to fight all the time. But how do you find a dragon? Cecil found me. What?
I accidentally kicked Dirty Harry at my cat.
Oh, okay.
I just heard her go, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was going to say my experience with the dragon was the one that had gotten lost, and it was huge, and I at first thought it was breathing fire and everything, so I was afraid of it, and stuck it down, and I called in everybody that protects me, called them in, and then I telepathically connected with the dragon, and all it was lost. It was scared. It was lost. Mm-hmm. So I had to lead it out. So, yeah, a lot of times I think when they're acting out, a lot of times it's just their own fear.
Well, and also there's really different sort of classes of dragons. If you read the legends, the dragons that came out of Asia are much milder and gentler, and they actually, Buddhist temples, some of them you'll see they have big windows way at the top of the peaked roof, and that's for the dragons to fly through because they think they're good luck. By the time the dragons got over here and we started really hearing about them, they ran into the Western civilization, which was not as enlightened as the Asians, and didn't see them as a source of wisdom. They thought they just looked like some giant big serpent and the Bible already told them the serpents would only hurt them, and so they kind of shifted them to a lower frequency, which made the dragons mad. But I think my favorite dragon legend, and I don't know, um, yeah, White Dragon says he uses them to help him work on chemtrails,
Yeah.
Carl. So you need to get together with White Dragon because I don't tell Cecil to go do anything. He comes and gets me. Okay. But there's a there's a dragon legend, and it's from Finland. And a young couple did what young couples do, and so the girl got in trouble, and so the her father and the leader of their faith community, and I don't know if it was a Christian church or what, because I don't read Finnish. I have to get these tales interpreted to me. But they decided to make the young man an outlaw, which meant he had to go see if he could survive in the woods. Didn't give the girl the same choice, so they tied her to the shore of where a dragon came out of the water, and waiting for the dragon to come eat her. Make snack time. And she was tied to the shore, and all the people in the village, because apparently villagers were short on social media at the time, were going to come down and watch her get eaten. So the dragon comes out of the water, and he goes, where is her father? And where is the faith leader that was teaching the values to these young people? And he said, I'm not going away till you get him down here. So they went and got dad, and they went and got whatever the guy was that was running their spiritual community. And they came down to meet the dragon, and they thought the dragon was going to say, good job, you're cleaning up the tribe, And they get on the shore, and the dragon swoops in and he eats them. And then he tells the people to let the young woman go and to think about what they're teaching their young people to know. And he went back into the ocean. That's my kind of dragon. Okay, let's see. I can't tell you how to know about your dragons. I can tell you that there's some real good books on dragons, dragon legends. And when you read about the legends, you'll understand which one you relate to.
Well, there was also that show on Gaia. Remember?
The elementals, yes. But it's a woman named Tanis, Tanis Hellwell, and it's Helliwell, I think. It's but something that's very close to that. And I'll type it. And I'm not sure about the spelling last name. But she has been working with the elementals.
Yeah, she's been working the elementals, and she also with the dragons, and she
For 30 years. Well, dragons are elementals.
Right. Well, the thing about the dragons is that she puts them all in different categories, which I would like to see all the different ones she's talking about. I've only dealt with the ones that are more reptilian coloring, and she's got like blues and greens.
I've seen them light, feathery, yes. And well, the colors of the dragons and the meanings of the dragons, that comes out of Asian dragon legend. Dr. Gail, I'll send you a book about that.
Okay.
I've got one.
Well, white dragon, it makes sense that you would be working with white dragons.
Yeah, well, you picked the white one. Tanis, there's somebody else typed it in for me if I didn't I got it in right, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, she's just written another book about them, but she's been working with elementals for 30 years, and she's also, isn't she a psychotherapist or yeah. And she said she works with a lot of people that are in transition between the elementals and the earth.
Right. So it's a good show.
It was a good show. It's on Gaia. If you go in or if you just type her name in, I'm sure on YouTube and whatever you can find, or Google her.
Yeah.
But she was fascinating because she didn't say anything I hadn't already heard or read.
Mhm.
but she has a really good encyclopedic knowledge, and
And a good speaker.
mhm. And so we've wandered from what my words. How do we define ourselves? The thing is, don't get so into. I'm reading cards. Somebody in here had typed a long thing how they didn't like runes, they didn't like this, they didn't like that, or it didn't suit them. And that's fine. I mean, I've studied runes. I don't read runes well. I can read them. There's just, there's so much time in your life. And Nancy Cass, the only dragon I know is Puff.
That's cute.
Um, but there's keep trying. I mean, I'm always open. I'll try pretty much anything. I mean, I'll go through and try. And I love the tactile nature of runes, but that's something I want to do when I want to just spend some time looking for myself.
Can you explain that a little more for people who don't know what you're talking about?
Runes? Yeah. Let's see if I think I have a bag of them here. When I say I have all this stuff, guys, runes were created by, let's see if this is them. No, that's not them either. Runes were created by the Vikings, and they have different letters on them, and they actually made them in. There's a thing called the runic alphabet, and they can read them, but each rune has its own meaning, and you work with them the same way you work with cards. You usually only use 3 or 5.
So, okay, what's a rune?
Rune is a stone.
Stone, okay.
Okay, let's see. Aha! I found them. I knew I had them here somewhere. If you knew what my office looks like, really. Okay, here's a rune. It's a little bitty stone, and see the little letter on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in a bag. And there's a bunch of them, and there's even blank ones. And there are books on how to interpret them. And what I like about runes is you don't ask a question. Okay, when you're reading runes, you don't ask a question. You say about a house, about my living situation, about the abode I'm in, and you let the runes tell you what you need to know about them.
Can you do a sample of it? A reading?
Sure. Let me see. Oh, you're gonna make me work, Dr. Gill.
Next, I'm going to make you bring out a crystal ball and show us how it works.
I don't have one of those. I don't know why I've never gotten one.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to have a crystal ball because you get mesmerized by looking at a candle flame or a fire.
Yeah, I used to watch. My mom used to light candles for me when I was little and tell me to stare into it.
Right. So I would think the crystal ball would be very similar about seeing things and being mesmerized by it.
Okay, I'm going to put this out on the table and I'll show you. I do not know what all these runes mean.
Okay.
So we're going to.
How many are there? Nancy's just going to kill me after the show, y'all.
15, 20, about 25.
Okay.
Okay. And now I got to go to the other camera. And you can see my messy desk. Okay. The runes come in a bag, and they're like this, and they're in their bag. And I do know runes. I know I saw past life where I was the seer or the shaman for some Vikings, and we use these. But what you do is you say, okay, how do we connect to the elementals? Okay. And you pull this one, that's your first one, you find the symbol. And see, this is where it makes absolutely no sense because I don't know, I don't remember what any of them mean. I mean, I'm just completely blanking out, guys. But what you do is you take, this is a lot like reading a 3-card reading. but this is the past, this is the present, this is the future.
Okay.
And you take whatever those mean, and I'll have to do a show on runes with my real rune book. I have an excellent book on runes, which is another thing that I can't lay my hand on at the moment.
Well, okay. Well, here's a suggestion.
Mhm.
Would you pull 3 cards that go along with those?
Okay.
And see what it says.
Okay.
And the question was about connecting to the elementals, correct?
Right. And these things all have meanings. If you understand them, one like means a house, and one like means a person saying this, and one might mean having security. Okay. Okay, how do I relate to them right now? Not real well, because my psychic head's not turned that way. I don't have the control of the vocabulary in this that I would like. And so I don't really want to jump off and make a decision.
Okay. So you can't, what's the vocabulary part of it?
Well, I don't know what these means. Look, I mean, this is why runes are hard to know what they mean.
Right.
This is a rune, and it looks like an F with a little line on the top.
Mm-hmm.
This is another rune. It looks like the same thing without the little line. So they're kind of trickier that way. People who know how to read them, or if I've been playing with them, I can fall into line with them pretty easily. But
right. Well, thanks for the demonstration.
I mean, look at all the different.
Yeah.
There's an N. There's some letters we recognize. And if you really, when I'm working with them, and I can remember which one means reaching up to the heavens and getting grace and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to realize the Vikings were not the happiest of people.
That's what the Vikings used.
But that's what they use. That comes from there. It comes from the Nordic traditions. Okay.
Now everybody knows what they are.
Yes, but that's what they look like. And if you really want something that's very tactile, they're very tactile the same way a pendulum is very tactile because you're swinging it. I don't think I'm going to get a reading. Someone says he can't get a reading from you, Dr. Gail. He thinks he's blocked. But I'll put her email up just in case anybody wants to get in touch with Dr.
Yeah.
There's her email. No excuses. Oh, and we did have one lady who put a comment in. Pauline Solio. She wanted us to use the word light being too, to make sure we looked at that when we're looking at.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of, there's a whole list of them, but light being, that would cover everything too.
Mm-hmm. And and there's things about, I don't want to deal with the dark, but you can't have light without having dark.
Right.
So anyway, does somebody else have a question?
I think there's been a lot of questions in there.
I'm sure there are.
So just you might as well just pick one. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Franz Mesmer discovered hypnosis. Hypnosis is the more modern word. Yeah, that's on this little booklet that I had. They talk about him because it talks about hypnotism, mesmerism, and psychology. And this book is a hoot. I have to really sit down at night and read it though, because it's really, it's tiny print.
Yeah.
Well, they don't want to waste paper.
That's true.
But it talks about, how people were beginning to use all those things back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, this one's for you, Dr. Gail. RB, is there any chance?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can. We were trying to do a show more on this, but I can look at it. Then more show on the words. But let's see what I get. It just takes me a few minutes sometimes because we're switching over from the different guides to answer some of these questions. They keep saying Palladians. So I'm going to say that's it. RB is the Palladians. I'm getting a big yes on that you're affiliated with. So
Okay, and the F I showed you guys that I held up in the little rune tile, it's Fehu. It's cattle, wealth, means of prosperity, money, abundance, and beginnings.
well, thanks.
And that was in the past with the runes for us. Didn't tell me where we got to, but
yeah.
But I'd rather say nothing at all than say the wrong thing. So.
Right. All right.
And people are discussing griffins and dragons and
all those different names. There's so many different names, and that's what we're talking about. These words, labeling and putting them in. As I said, when I was a nurse, it was easy. You're a nurse. You're a chiropractor. But when it came to the metaphysical world, and all your gifts keep coming out, and you just can't seem to label it. You can't even label the elementals, or anyway, there's just it's a human things trying to the 3D world trying to label everything, whereas in the other dimensions, I don't think they have so much labels like that.
Well, when I was beginning to work with crystals and I was beginning to build the garden and build the crystal eggs and stuff. By the way, guys, eggs are still available, but I don't know for how long. The company that makes them for me, they've been trying to get a hold of me for a couple of days in the emails, and I've been less than spry in getting back to them. But I don't have any that I have backstocked. If you want an egg, if you've never seen one, it's a crystal egg. I have throat.
Well, I've got one. I can show you the throat one.
Okay.
Right here.
Right. The throat one. Okay. And it's got the 3 Malachites that help open your throat, help you. You use them as a meditative tool.
Actually, these are lapis.
Are those lapis?
Yeah, for the throat.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Talk about the heart.
Okay, yeah. It's the heart. And I designed these guys, but it was 3 years ago. So. Yeah. But
so you've got some that are being made, or how's that going to happen?
If someone wants one, they have to contact me, and I order it, and then when I get it, then we ship it off.
Okay, so you'll have it made to order?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so and you don't know how long that's going to take?
I don't know how long that's going to take, and I'm not advertising them right now because I got so bound up with physical goods between the Oracle Garden, which is my divination tool that I invented, and I channeled in. And that was really a case of channeling it in. I can explain to you when you learn about that.
Yeah, and I use the eggs on the healing shows because they're, when I'm doing using stones, and I'll use the egg because that's even a stronger opening, especially for that third chakra or the heart chakra. It seems to be like a stronger thing that'll open those chakras up. It's using the egg.
Yeah, and I have a guy who has both of them, both the throat and the heart. Mm-hmm. And he says he uses them for interdimensional travel. Well, I can't promise you that. I can guarantee you the second I put that on my website, I'm going to hear from somebody.
Yeah. Susie has both of them, and she helps me on the shows, bring them both up. Yeah.
And they're fun, and they're lovely, and they're pretty, and I don't have them out. I have them back in a drawer because I don't want to be. I had a bad first 6 months of this year, guys. So it was energetics. It was totally energetics, but I'm feeling much better now. So I'm rethinking the egg.
Yeah. Do you know how much they're going to cost?
They go to
Or are they going to be the same as what's on your website now? Or is it
They're on my website right now, as far as I know. And
Okay.
if anything changes in it, I'll let you know. I'm, I just the cost of everything just went up, and even when I was doing the eggs, I'd get one bid on doing them, and then I'd find out it was more. It was like I ate a lot of money doing the eggs, guys. So.
Yeah. It's been a sore subject. I've always been afraid to ask her about it because she's like,
Yeah. So anyway, we're almost finished. So if you have something you can't live without an answer to, what I hope you'll understand, what my message is to everybody is don't box yourself in and say, if I announce that I'm a this, I can't be a that. We were supposed to have Danny with us on the show today, but Danny is getting ready for a road trip and he's stuck at the garage where they're doing something with his van. And, Danny was bathrobe Tarot because he used to read in his bathrobe early in the morning in the frustrating days of early COVID. And then he outgrew his bathrobe when I found another reader who was sitting in his bathrobe reading cards. And Danny said, it's not my shtick anymore. I have to give it up. So he's just Danny Shea without his bathrobe. But Danny studies and understands shamanism. And I've had shows on where I've discussed shamanism with him. According to Dr. Gail, shamans don't like to be called shamans. Like it wouldn't be shaman Danny Shea. It's Danny Shea who works with shamanism, right? That's how
practices shamanism.
Mm-hmm. And so probably make everybody going to run off and look at words and go, oh my God, what am I?
I know. There's so many different words, but as I said, I got hung up on it at the very beginning trying to figure out where I fit in, but I don't. And so many other people really don't either. So it's just take that in consideration, especially if you're beginning with all these things and trying to find out where you fit in. You don't. We're all different. So, just kind of, and it always changes. Mine was changing. I gave up on everything that I was doing. I quit adding it to my YouTube channel. Just going, okay, well, if I add this, then next month it'll be something different. So I didn't do that.
Yeah, and Cheryl, this is a good one, Cheryl. I'm going to show her because there have been some questions that come up. They're going to be too long. We need to get out of here in an hour. You can try and write a job description for yourself of all things you do and focus on your strengths. And you can always change them.
Right.
And somebody asked if I ship the eggs overseas. I have sent one overseas. You have to pay the freight on it, though, guys. And trust me, FedEx does not know what to do with my eggs. It's another thing.
Right. So.
And this is also true. Labels can divide us. So somebody can say, but I only believe channelers, or I only believe card readers, or there was a long period when I was first in the reading world where there's a lot of prejudice against who did what. And it's all the same thing. It's all the energy. And I'm going to be doing a series of shows on how the energies have shifted since 2017. And we don't want to be divided anymore. We want to create unity. That's what we're trying to do. Well, no, we're doing it because trying is a bad word.
That's right. There you go.
And so, goodbye, Dr. Gail.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nancy Jean, and thanks everybody for showing up with us today.
And now that we've confused y'all terribly. Also, tonight at 7:00 is day 8 of the 9 candles, and then tomorrow night, Kim Carey from Intuitive View will be on with me. We'll be doing day 9 of the 9 candles. It's a premiere. You can see it anytime, but if you follow my channel, you know it's coming up. And what else have I got? I'm still doing 6-month readings, and I'm still building grids. So,
and any of you get the reading, the 6 months or the year readings, they are fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gill.
Anyway, true. They're fantastic. You get to know month to month, what's to look for in each month. That's
Yeah,
ahead
the
of.
vibration in that month.
Mhm.
Somebody wants us to do more shows like this. I can't imagine what's wrong with this woman. Anyway, y'all have a good day.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye bye, everybody.